Hi everyone, I'm Maricelle Gler, an infectious disease doctor from Manila, Philippines, and also a member of Christian Life community called Friends of Mary Immaculate, consisting of 7 people. So I'm here today to talk to you about my experiences as an infectious disease doctor dealing with this pandemic. So at the start of the pandemic, since there was a lot of questions rather than answers, we had to grasp with a lot of unknowns. As a clinician, there were no proven treatments to the disease, so we had to collaborate with a lot of doctors, different sections in the hospital to come up with guidelines to treat our patients well. And as a clinician and as a person who deals with patients, we had to deal with the isolation of patients. We had to be the bridge between the patients and their families, because usually the patients will be left on their own and the families would not know what is happening to the patients. So we had to be the one to link that bridge and talk to the families every day. And with the patients, we had to be as empathic as possible, even in our PPEs, because we were fully covered, and we had to, as infectious disease doctors, we had to wear different hats. So one as a clinician, two as an infection control officers of the hospital. So we had to work with the hospital management to convert certain wards as dedicated COVID wards. And also as educators and training, most of the doctors in the hospital had to stay at home because most of the units were closed to other types of diseases. So we were only admitting this time mostly COVID patients, and a few non-COVID patients. So there were a lot of doctors who opted to stay in their homes, and what we did was we had to update them. So we organized weekly webinars to update the doctors and increase their confidence to come back to the hospital. So what were the learnings I was able to rescue from life in general journey as the management of this pandemic? The first one is the ability to collaborate. We have the need to collaborate with different units of the hospital, as well as the different hospitals. In our so I belong to this society in microbiology. It's called Philippine Society of Microbiology and Infectious Diseases. So we had to meet regularly to be able to come up with very good evidence or best practices, so that we can make the guideline to share with the other doctors in all the country. And then we had to work with different specialties to be able to manage our patients well. So second is to be able to know, to be more compassionate to our patients who are in isolation. So that was actually the most learning that we had to learn along during this pandemic, because our patients was in complete isolation. They had no one, so they only had us, doctors, and the other nurses to take care of them and to assure them that they will make it. And also the connection with the families, because we were the one who had to tell the families that their patients or their family member will not be able to make it. So that was the greatest learning, or most painful learning that I had to go through. The third is continued vigilance. Although there was a decrease in cases, at some point we had to continue to be vigilant and wear masks and follow the regulations and had to encourage other people to be vigilant. In fact, in our section, we were the only section who had no infection because we really ensured that all the members of our section, the infectious disease of Makati Medical Center, be really vigilant in ensuring that we not get the infection. And the other learnings were being able to take care of your mental health, especially during these very difficult times. You have to take care of your mental health by trying to, because you were in isolation, trying to connect with people through, so we had to have Zoom meetings with my family members and my community, the Friends of Mary Immaculate, and more regular meetings at this time. In fact, this was the only time where we had done our meetings regularly and on a weekly basis every Wednesday evening. So this also helped me to enhance my spiritual growth, because it was really necessary to look into inside and be more grounded spiritually, so that you can be able to take care of your patients. So how important is following health regulations? As you know, COVID-19 can be transmitted through droplet infection. You have to be within a meter or 1.5 meters from the infected person to be able to get it. At the start of the pandemic, there was a lot of talk about it being a respiratory, so you can get it through the air, through inhalation, or even you can get it farther from the person. But as more data there are more data now to prove that it's mainly a droplet infection. So the main way in which to control the disease is by wearing masks, social distancing, and wearing face shields. So in infectious disease, we have this Swiss cheese model in the control of the pandemic, where there are different holes. So there are multiple layers of control, and each of this layer has to be done to be able to control the disease. And what's important is to follow the minimum health standards. So in our country, we had a repeating advertisement on minimum health standard regulations, masking, face shield, social distancing, and this is being played in the radio and in all social media daily, several times a day. So this is the only way we can control the disease, and the cooperation of everybody is very crucial. So that's following health standard is very important. So now I talk about the importance of vaccination or being vaccinated in the control of this pandemic. As we know, the only way we can control or prevent an infectious disease is through vaccination. Vaccines are certain parts of the organism, the bacteria or the virus, that is injected to the person or to man, so that we can somehow mimic the reaction of the body to the virus, but not create that disease, but not manifest that disease. So when you're injected that portion of the virus, the body develops antibodies, or those proteins or those components that reacts to the virus. So in the future, when you get the infection, you the body will know that infection, will know how to fight that infection. So that's the way we can prevent most of the diseases. So for COVID-19, we now have vaccines, several vaccines even, to control this disease. So, and we're very lucky, because of the modern technology, vaccines were developed very rapidly. Traditionally, vaccine development would last for 4 to 5 years from inception, or from a candidate being developed to it being proven to be safe and efficacious to man. But for this pandemic, through a lot of collaboration, there are several vaccines now, almost 10 vaccines now that are being used for control of the disease in different countries. And for our contribution, we need to get the vaccine to be able to control the disease. And what does vaccine do? What does COVID-19 do? So COVID-19 vaccines prevent development of severe disease as well as death. So most of the COVID vaccine has proven to be effective against hospitalization and death. And that's what we want, like the flu vaccine. We don't want for people to go to the hospital or to die from the disease. We want so even if this COVID-19 stays with us, as long as it's just like a regular cold or a regular respiratory infection or lung infection, what we want is for a lot of people to be vaccinated, for us to attain what we call a herd immunity. A certain numbers of people in the population for COVID it should be 67% of the population needs to be vaccinated for us to attain that herd immunity. Herd immunity is when even if there's infection, there's no more forward transmission. There's no more transmission. So that's the ideal setting. And the only way we can attain that is through vaccination. So what should we bear in mind moving towards the post-COVID era? So when all of us get vaccinated, so we should not think that we can just go to the old normal, although we can probably go back to the normal eventually, but we should still be very vigilant because of the variants that you hear now. There can still be pockets of infection, so we should all be vigilant, in contributing to the control of the illness. So as a clinician, as a doctor, I have learned to be more open to technology because we have been doing a lot of teleconsults. So maybe this will be this will stay. Teleconsultation is one that I have to accept as part of my management of patients. And even with learning, so online learning or distance learning or not face-to-face learning, it will be part of our daily life. It can be blended, but when there are pockets of infection, we have to go back to being isolated again. So we have to get used to online way of learning, communicating. So what happened in several communities in the Philippines was each one had to take care of each other. Community members had to take care of each other. There were very good people who started community pantries, so that the hungry and those who have can share with those who have not. So this should be the norm, no? That each one should take care of each other. as a young person, you should always, we need not be the only frontliners. You can also be a frontliner. You need to be more involved, and not just in controlling the disease, but in caring for our community members. So that's it. That's the only things I can share with you as an eye doctor during this time.